Guys, one of the things I was telling you about in a video a couple of days ago in regards to how the Democrats are using this pandemic as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to push their big government policies is that you really can't think about this stuff on a surface level. You got to think deeper because the Democrats are sneaky, okay? Because Biden is trying so desperately to be the next FDR. He's coming in and saying, here's all this new government spending, all these new government programs, okay? When in reality, he's not FDR. He's actually Jimmy Carter. And Biden's going to end up going down in history as another Jimmy Carter. And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, okay? Because Biden is about to be known as the inflation president. The president that has caused mass inflation after we've had literally probably decades, right, of low inflation, or at least inflation not too much above 2%, which is the year-over-year target. And guys, I'm about to explain to you the game plan for how the Democrats are about to cause massive inflation. You artificially create a problem, and then you propose your solution to a problem that you created. Okay? That's what the Democrats are doing. And the pandemic has allowed them to do that, right? This is something I hypothesized in a video just a few days ago. Now, you have Jen Psaki, the press secretary, coming out, okay, when pressed about unemployment benefits. And is these unemployment benefits causing people not to want to go to work? In her response to that, she basically confirms exactly what I was telling you guys about the Democrat agenda, okay? And when pressed on the unemployment benefits and if they are disincentivizing people to go to work, Press Secretary Jen Psaki basically blames everything except the unemployment benefits. And the reason why is because the unemployment benefits are the key to creating the problems that they're going to try to push for and address in the Biden infrastructure package. So I want you guys to pay close attention to how she talks about what's to blame for people not working.
And then on the economy, so employment only rose by about 266,000 jobs in April out of 7.4 million or so job openings. How does the White House know that people are just choosing not to apply for jobs because the extra unemployment benefits are so good?
Well, first, let me say that we have looked at the data, and Secretary Yellen referred to this on Friday, or talked about this on Friday. We don't see much evidence that the extra unemployment insurance is a major driver in people not rejoining the workforce. We actually see the data, and our analysis shows that lack of vaccination, the lower rate, which is why I referred to the data and the week that it was taken, it has an impact. Child care has an impact. Schools reopening has an impact. But there is also the need to pay a livable working wage. And that's one of the reasons the president will talk about that this afternoon.
But as Bank of America economists who are cited in a Bloomberg story say, anybody making less than $32,000 a year is better off financially just taking the unemployment benefit. So is the White House creating an incentive just to stay home?
Well, again, the majority of economists, internally and externally of the White House, don't feel that unemployment insurance, something that was done at a time where to help unemployed people get through a very difficult economic downturn during a pandemic, is a major driver in our unemployment data. That there are other factors, bigger factors, that have been contributing to the numbers we saw on Friday. That's what we're working to address, and that's where we think our solution should be focused.
And just last one really quick. The Commerce Secretary says the main reason that people are staying home is fear. How does the White House know that people are scared? What is that based on?
Well, I think what she was referring to is the fact that there was a much lower vaccination rate just a month ago, and that people are fearful about getting sick. They are fearful about whether they're going to have the conditions to be healthy, whether they can send their kids to a child care center, whether there is a child care center. So those are all factors that are consistent with the examples and reasons I just provided.
So you heard her there, okay? She's basically trying to blame everything except the unemployment benefits for why the jobs report was so terrible. Okay, she's trying to blame everything else. She said, well, it's a lack of vaccinations. Okay, and then she said it's childcare. It's school reopening. Now, here's the thing about that, guys. Unemployment benefits, them being so high, as Peter Ducey pointed out, if you're getting paid $31,000 a year just to sit at home from the government, why would you go and work a lower paying job? Specifically jobs that are in like fast food, service jobs that are not particularly enjoyable jobs that people particularly really don't want to have. Okay. And when you're not required to show that you're looking for a job, because you can just say, well, you know what? I'm scared. I don't want to get the virus. So therefore, you're not required to actually show that you're looking for a job or to get one. Of course, people are not going to try, right? Especially when you're getting paid more to sit at home than you are to actually go to work. So when asked about, okay, well, why are you not trying to look for a job? They'll say, well, I'm scared, right? Which will make sense. Because I'll be scared too if I knew that if I was to go back to work, I would get paid less to work than I would to sit at home. This stuff is not that hard to figure out. They're not going to tell you that, well, I'm getting my unemployment benefits. I get paid more for the government to go to work. That's why I don't want to work. Nobody's ever going to say that in a survey. So listen, I've seen economists' studies talk about how they don't think unemployment is causing this. I think it's bunk. Because I don't think they're going to be able to get honest answers out of people as to why they're not actually going to work. Because nobody in their right mind is going to say that they're not going to work because they're receiving too much unemployment. Nobody's going to say that. They're going to say they're scared. Because that's the excuse that they've been given by the government not to apply for jobs in the first place. And the jobs that we're saying that people don't want to work are the lower wage jobs in which the government is paying more money for people to sit at home than to work those jobs. That's why low wage jobs are not recovering. Medium and high wage jobs have, right? This stuff is not hard. We're not stupid, okay? That's what bothers me about the Democrats. They think that people are stupid. And see, she blames all those other things because she knows that that's a part of what the Biden administration wants to push. For example, she says lack of vaccinations. Well, obviously they want more people to get vaccinated, okay? That's a part of it. Then she says childcare. Well, we got children sitting at home, so parents obviously can't work because they got to take care of kids. Well, what are the Democrats proposing? They're proposing universal daycare and universal childcare. That's what they're proposing. Okay? And why are these parents being forced to sit home? Well, because schools are still closed. Who's been slow in terms of trying to reopen schools? The Democrats. Now, how can these people survive just sitting at home? Through expanded unemployment benefits. This stuff is not hard to figure out, guys. So now you've created problems. You've created problems for yourself that has prevented people from wanting to get back into the workforce. Okay? And now that people don't want to get back into the workforce, you've created this problem where it's like, well, see, now people don't really want to get back in the workforce and we can't stop giving them unemployment benefits. They're unemployed. We can't do that. So therefore, instead of getting rid of unemployment benefits, we got to implement universal child care. Okay? Guess what universal child care is a part of? It's a part of their broader infrastructure package. So you're not just going to get that by itself. You're going to get that along with the infrastructure package. Now, if Republicans come out and say, well, we're against the infrastructure package, now people are going to say, well, the Republicans aren't trying to get people to go back to work because they don't want to sign up for Biden's infrastructure plan that includes universal child care and all these other things. That's kind of how this stuff works. In order to get public support for something as big as a $4 trillion infrastructure plan, you have to make it seem like this is an urgent thing that we need, right? We need this or else people just not going to be able to go back to work, okay? Even though what's really keeping people from going back to work is the fact that schools are closed and unemployment benefits, okay? Also notice what she said about wages. She said, well, companies need to pay more. You guys remember, the Democrats were telling the progressives, we want a $15 an hour minimum wage, even though Biden didn't put it in the last stimulus package when he had a chance to. But they've been saying this is what we want. So obviously they want companies to raise their wages. They want companies to pay more, right? How do you get companies to pay more without having to pass legislation? Well, if you keep people unemployed and now the employers The private market has to compete with the government because the government is basically paying people to stay home. Now, all of a sudden, these low-wage jobs, they have to raise their wages to compensate because the increased demand from people getting all this money, sitting at home spending it, and the economy roaring back. Now these companies have to hire. They have to hire. They need people to meet that demand. Either that or they're going to have to slow down business or cut profits. And that's not something that companies want to do. So a lot of these companies are going to be forced to raise their wages. And with increased wages, right, being artificially increased because the government is pumping all this money into the economy via unemployment and stimulus, naturally you're going to get inflation. Okay, you're going to get inflation. As Wall Street Journal is reporting that higher prices are leaving consumers feeling the pinch. So let's read a little bit more here, guys. Americans accustomed to years of low inflation are beginning to pay sharply higher prices for goods and services as the economy strains to rev back up and the pandemic wanes. Price tags on consumer goods, from processed meat to dishwashing products, have risen by double-digit percentages from a year ago. According to NielsenIQ, Whirlpool Corp, freezers and dishwashers, and Scotts Miracle-Gro Company lawn and garden products are also getting costlier, the companies say. Some consumers are feeling stretched. Kathleen Wilson, a program manager in Denver, said her recent $275 bill at Costco Wholesale Corp store, which included razors and cotton pads on top of her typical grocery list, was more expensive than usual. Ms. Vinson said she switched from buying fresh to frozen fruit and vegetables because they are less expensive and last longer. Again, guys, you can see here that people are changing their spending habits and that companies are raising their prices. Why are companies raising their prices? Because we had so much money pumped into the economy. So there's increased consumer spending. You have people sitting at home. Okay, they're buying things. But yet these companies can't hire people because people are getting paid to sit at home. Therefore, now they have to raise their wages. They got to raise their wages. Okay? And when they have to raise their wages, they either have to cut profits to compensate, or they're going to have to increase prices. 99.9% of the time, that company is going to try to increase prices right before they cut profits. That's how companies work. Let's read a little bit more here. We're sacrificing the food that I really like to cook just to be cheaper, she said. Costs are rising at every step in the production of many goods. Prices from oil, crops, and other commodities have shot up this year. Trucking companies are paying scarce drivers more to take those materials to factories and construction sites. As a result, companies are charging more for foods and consumer products, including foil wraps and disposable cups. Kellogg, maker of Frosted Flakes, Cheez-Its, and Pringles, said Thursday that higher costs for ingredients, labor, and shipping are pushing it and other food makers to raise prices. We haven't seen this type of inflation in many, many years, Chief Executive Officer Steve Cahillane said. Investors and economists are watching whether the higher prices drive up broader measures of inflation, which has been muted for years. Consumer prices jumped 2.6% in the year ending in March, according to the Labor Department, the biggest 12-month increase since August 2018. All right, guys. So, as you can see there, inflation's on the rise, man. I don't care what the Fed says. Inflation is on the rise. And I'm telling you, man, I'm not usually a do-nothing type of person when it comes to politics. I think there's always problems that need to be solved. But as of right now, the Republicans really should just oppose any more spending from the Biden administration, right? And, you know, people criticize Mitch McConnell for coming out and saying, listen, I'm just opposed to everything Biden's doing, right? Like, my sole purpose here is just to oppose this guy. And typically, I would be critical of McConnell for saying something like that. But we don't need any more money in the economy, man. We don't need any more money. The Democrats got to chill out, bro. Like, I'm so serious about this. Because inflation is on the rise. They got to stop and see, okay, what is actually happening in the economy? The economy is doing good. It's red hot. We don't need to keep pouring more gas on the fire. We don't need more, okay? We need to hold off on this infrastructure package, or at the very least, go with the Republican plan. Something super targeted that's not going to pour trillions of more dollars into an economy that's already red hot. People don't want to go to work for these unemployment benefits, okay? That's leading to more higher prices. And Jen Psaki is going to sit up here and try to tell people with a straight face, oh, it's not that. It's everything else. Again, problems that they've created. Problems that they've created. So it's not even like you get a pass for it. But this is the Democrats' way of low-key making companies increase their wages without actually passing legislation. Yes, it's that insidious. I do believe that the Democrats are doing this on purpose. They're incentivizing people to stay home on purpose in order to force these companies to raise wages. And they just keep spending money and more money and more money. And again, doing this at the cost of inflation, which is going to make all of us more broke. I don't care who you are. Everybody's going to be more broke with more inflation because the dollar is going to be less valuable. So I'm serious, man. Democrats got to stop spending money. And right now, I approve of the Republicans just being in sole opposition to anything Biden wants to do economically. We don't need to do anything else right now. We need to chill, right? We just need to chill and focus on other things because right now the economy is red hot. We need to allow it to cool off before inflation really, really creeps up. So, look, man, Biden wants to be FDR so bad. And it's like, bro, you're not FDR. And if you keep trying to be FDR, you're really going to end up like Jimmy Carter. That's who Biden is. He's Jimmy Carter. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.